One of our projects right now is to make a chess piece or a Christmas ornament or something that's kind of more round than what we've been doing. Here's one that we left off with in class and a couple things that we can do to it. I don't know if I'll get to the letters this time, but before I make this disappear, I do want you to notice one thing, and that is when I built this, as I click on these, you can see that each one of these segments is its own group, and we can do that. I could probably build it as a single group altogether, but it'll be way easier if we do it this way. So let's start with a clean slate right here. Delete all that and start from fresh. Now, we know the basic routine on this is that rectangle push group that I keep harping on. I just did something crazy right there. Let me show you what I can do if you lose your zoom. On this bottom one right here, I just want to go to zoom extents. That's that very bottom one, and that brings me back to my home view. So we could do just a basic rectangle, push, triple click, and make a group. Hopefully by now that's really familiar to you. So let's try a new shape. Let's use a circle this time. Predictably, that is the C key on the keyboard. And let's work from the origin right here. That's that middle point. We're going to click, drag, click. For this one, we do want the diameter to be 1 1/2 inches. And down here below, you can see it's asking for the radius. So let's do half of that, 0.75 or 3/4. And notice it went really, really small. So we'll zoom in there. Our next command is push. Now for this one, this is an aesthetic piece, so we can do any height we want. We're just gonna kind of go by looks right there. That looks about right. So we did our circle, we did our push, and let's do a group. And I want to stack this up, make it kind of statue-like. So we'll do another circle, and I want to grab this center point. Now notice it's not grabbing it. I do want this to be concentric, so what I do is I go to the end right here, wait until it sees an endpoint and shows you that line. Now when I go back here, it remembers where I was, and now it gives me the center. So I can click out here, do that, push, and spacebar, triple click, make a group. Now one thing you do want to keep in mind though is that when we run this on the CNC machine, my smallest bit is about a 1/16 of an inch. Plus it has a taper on it. So if I want this to be machined, it has to be at least 1/16 of an inch, preferably an eighth. Let's add another circle to this. Once again, it's not giving me a circle snap point, so I'm going to go out, grab an endpoint, and then it will give that to me. Now, if I want this to be the same size as the bottom circle, I can go out here and hold my cursor on an endpoint in that lower one, and it will infer to that and make this top circle the same size as the bottom one. All right, and we'll do a push. And same thing, let's see here. We're just going by eye right now. All this harping I did about dimensions, and now we're just kind of doing what looks right. Hey, let's keep it easy. Triple click, make a group. All right, I'm making this one into a pond, so we've got this shoulder, this tapered shoulder. We're gonna make a cone. Actually, it's a truncated cone. So I'm gonna add one more trick to our arsenal here. We're going to, same thing, make a circle. Grab an endpoint to infer the center, right there. And right to my endpoint and push. And let's get this up here a ways. You're probably wondering, well, why didn't I just make this whole cylinder one tall thing to begin with? Well, because I want this bottom part to be square. Now we're going to do something new. I'm not going to group this yet. I could, and it won't make any difference, except I would have to double click to enter that group. But what we want to do is we want to make this circle smaller. So if I select just this, we can resize just that part of it. And here's a new command. It's the scale command. It's the S key on the keyboard. If I press that, it's going to give me some control handles so I can move just one side of it, undo. I can move that side of it, undo, or I can do from the corner. It will give me a uniform scale, but if I just do it like that, notice it squishes it off to one side, which I don't want to do. But if I hold the control button, it will scale about the center. So if you see that dotted line right there, that's without the control button. As soon as I press the control button, oops, went too far, it goes like that. Now we don't want to make a perfect cone because we want to plop some stuff on top of there. So we'll just, again, just kind of do what looks right. Like so. Don't forget, most important thing on Sketchup is groups. Triple click, make a group. All right. Now for this one, I want to add just one more command in here. I probably wouldn't do this on my pond, but I want to show you how this works. And we want to go back to our rectangle. And I'm going to click and drag. Now remember with the rectangle, it goes from the corner. But if I want it to go from the center, that control button is kind of like my multi-purpose button. So if I click the control button, press once, it goes to corner, press again, it goes to center. And as I'm doing this, what I want is a perfect square. So I'm kind of moving it around there until I get that diagonal that goes all the way across. And then it says square. I can let go of that, do a push, triple click, and make a group. All right, now it's a pond, so we got to have the sphere on the top. I'm going to put one more little part there just to center that on there. So let's go back to circle. Now I'm in a square here. It's not wanting to infer that center, so I have to do one more step. I'm going to go right here to the midpoint. And once I click on that, it will infer across, but I still need that second dimension. So now I go to this side, grab this midpoint, infer from there, and now the two meet. And now it will say, okay, the midpoint of those two is right there. Click, drag, click. And let's push that up a little bit. Again, just whatever looks right. Triple click and make a group. All right. The hardest thing we'll do today is making sphere, and it's a two-part deal. It may or may not work on this video, so I'll show you two different ways. The way that they tell you to do it in the videos, and then the way that I found that it really works. So we need a circle. Grab the center just like we've done, and we'll make it kind of big. Let's make it as big as the square there. And I'm not going to make a group out of this yet. I'm going to make another circle from the center. Now notice right there, there's a blue circle saying we're on the blue face right there. We want to turn that perpendicular. There's no reference plane right now. Now I showed you before where you can hold onto another plane, hold the shift key and go up here, but now it's wanting to make the circle on that plane, so that's not working. Even though I've got the perpendicular face right there, I want it to be on the center. So we're going to use the keyboard arrows. So right now if I press the up arrow, that blue just turns dark. It means it's locked in on that blue. If I push the right arrow, now I've got it perpendicular, and it's saying that is perpendicular to the red axis. If you look down below here, it's on the red axis. If I hit the left arrow, it will go perpendicular to the green axis right there. And if I hit the down arrow, it's going to go whatever face it's on. So what we want, I don't expect you to memorize it. I just kind of push the keys until I get the one I want. So right there, that looks good. Zoom in a little bit. Click, drag, click, and I have another circle. So I have one circle perpendicular to the other. All right, cross your fingers. This may or may not work. I'm going to click on that circle, not the face, but the actual line. And down here where the push command is, if I click on that, I get two additional tools. There's the push-pull we've been using, and then there's this one that says follow me. And if you did the joinery with me earlier, there's also the offset that we've used. So the follow me is going to take one face and trace it across a path. So if I just click on that, yeah, it didn't work. Let's try it again. Ooh, redo. Okay. So what's happening? This is one of the weird quirks with SketchUp. It doesn't like really small things, especially when doing solids like this. So that circle's just not going to work for me. Let's take that away with some undo commands. We're going to zoom out and we're going to make kind of a ginormous circle, and we'll use our scale command to make it right again. Now, spheres are really hard to move around because there are no control points. So we want to make sure we start on the center of this. So we'll make our circle just like we did before. Grab an endpoint, infer to the center, make sure it says center and group. Click, drag, and we're just going to go way the heck out here. My pawn is going to disappear. Now, we want to make sure everything below it is grouped so that this doesn't interfere with any of that geometry. One more time, we'll go on the center, and I'll use my arrow keys. We'll use the right arrow to make a perpendicular circle. Drag it out to there, click it again, and let's try that follow me command again. So we're going to go like that. It didn't work. Let's try doing spacebar, select that circle, follow me. There we go. So you have to select the perpendicular circle and then the face. Let's see if I can replicate that. Okay. So starting from scratch, I've got my two perpendicular circles. Click the line on that one. Grab the follow me tool and click the face. I went way too fast. One more time. Okay. Spacebar to clear it. Click the line. Follow me tool. And I'm going to click the face. Make sure you're in there where you get the little dots right there. And then I take the sphere. And then if you want to, you can delete that circle. Okay, now the problem is my pawn is gone. It's disappeared. It's been completely engulfed by that sphere. But because we've grouped everything, we're fine. So the first thing I want to do, let's go ahead and make this into a group, just because I don't want to have to worry about things getting weird on me. And then I can scale this down. If I hit S for scale, just like we did with the cone, only now we're in 3 dimensions. So I have all these different control points. I can scale one side and squish it. There's my rook right there. Undo. I can go from an edge and squash it that way. Undo. What I want is a uniform scale. So it's scaling X, Y, and Z all together. But if I go from here, it's going to go to the opposite point. And look at that. It doesn't end up on the pawn where I want it. So again, we'll use that control key. If I hold control, it's going to go from center to edge. We want it from the center so it stays locked on the top of that pawn. So I'm going to get it kind of close, zoom in so I can see my pawn, and then do that one more time. I'm just going to bring that down until it's about the right size. Okay, now it's not in the right place, but that's okay. We've got the size that we want. Spacebar to select out of there. And now we can just move it up. Now remember those arrow commands? If I just grab this, it's really hard to control where I'm moving it. I don't know where it's going. Undo. But if I use my arrow commands, I think I have to click it once. So if I'm actually going to click out here in space. I don't have to touch the object to move it as long as it's selected. My object is selected. I'm going to click here, and I still have some trouble moving it around. But if I hit the up arrow button, it says constrained on line. If I hit the right arrow, it will only move on the red line, regardless of where my cursor is. Up arrows only on the blue line, on the red line, and left arrows on the green line. So I want it on the blue line. So now I've got perfect control. No matter what I do with my mouse, it will only move up and down. And then I can bring it right in. I can zoom in on that. Right about like so. Again, we're just making it look good. Okay, and I can spin all around there. And I can see, yep, that is definitely centered. There's a lot more we could do with this. I could plop some text on there. I could go in and edit my rectangle and trim off those corners. Here's a quick, I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to show you kind of how, actually, will it let me, oh, look at that. It infers the lines for me. Oh, but it's not doing that edge. Darn it. If I go over here, look at that. It grabs where that edge is. And so it's being kind of smart right there. Look at that. It's going even on that one. Remember, I double click this to edit this, and then I can go and I can push these corners down to make them go away. So you could draw any design you want and just push them away to make them disappear. Not symmetrical, but for what we're doing, yeah, it looks kind of cool actually. Now, if you're being a purist about this, you might look and say, wait a minute. If I double click on this right here, it doesn't have a bowl where that sphere is. I guess if you want, you could go over here and use a trim tool and say, all right, there's my tool, there's my target. Now, if I look at this, that's been cut in there. I'd actually cut down below. Look at that. My sphere goes all the way through. So there you go. A bunch of new commands. I'll go back. Hopefully I did this right and I edited it and I put the commands on the screen for you just for your convenience. But there's your pawn. You can make that into a Christmas tree with a series of stacked cones or some kind of whimsical random thing. And honestly, there's nothing to say that it has to be concentric. You could have your pieces off axis like this and they'll still carve. It looks goofy, but I mean, if you wanted to make a whimsical chess set, I guess you could do that. The machine will do it. The only thing is if you move a piece past the axis. So right there, there's that center axis. This part right in here, the way the machine is set up right now will not machine. So make sure you keep it at least covering the axis. That'd be kind of cool. I might actually carve that and see what it does. Right now I have a video to edit though. So I'm going to go back in time and put some letters on this and you'll never know the difference. Where's my stop button? There it is.